Welcome to TGC. My name is Yasir Khan Kakar, and in today's discussion, we have joined by Dr. Richard Rubenstein, who is a renowned expert of conflict resolution and peace building. In today's interview, we have planned to talk about how to resolve the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for asking me. Yeah.
So, according to you, what role the international community can play, especially when it comes to international institutions? Uh, and you mentioned a very good point that the US is supporting Israel. So, Israel has the confidence, in extending this war. Do you think these institutions can pressurize the US and Israel both to de-escalate the war and go towards negotiations?
The painful process for the United States now, the process that the U.S. needs to go through is a process in which it gives up the dream of world hegemony and becomes a great power in a world of other great powers, and then through international institutions and other methods learns to live in a multilateral world. And I think it's possible for that to happen, but it's difficult. And it's painful for that to happen. And you can see how that's working itself out now in the United States currently with the new the election of November and the election of Donald Trump. If you talk to the Trump people about what sort of foreign policy they want, they talk about America first, which is a kind of combination of old-fashioned Republican isolationism and a kind of anti-imperial flavor. They talk about negotiation rather than constantly using military force. They also talk about the United States not intervening so frequently in other people's affairs. But then when it comes to Israel, Trump sounds more pro-Zionist than Biden. And is talking about, his latest statement is that there'll be hell to pay if the hostage situation isn't resolved in Gaza. What if he doesn't think there's hell there already? Then he doesn't know what's happened there. I don't understand what that threat actually means. But at any rate, so Trump is not really an anti-imperialist. He's a bit of a fool. But in addition to that, there's this fundamental inconsistency. He thinks that the U.S. needs to be the best armed nation in world history, and he needs to hold that force in reserve and threaten people with it. And then he thinks that the U.S. can get what it wants. And what it wants in the Middle East, apparently, is something like the plan that Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, designed when he was during the first Trump administration, which is an alliance of conservative Sunni Muslim states and the United States against the Shia and the radicals. I'm not sure if that's what they are still thinking about or not, but it seems to me it's a recipe for continued conflict, not for peace in the Middle East.
According to you, what are the possible solutions to end this war or to de-escalate this conflict? And these solutions must be feasible politically, given the ground realities.
I have to say I find it very difficult to answer that question. In any term, I think that the short-term perspective held out by Sachs when he talks about moving quickly towards establishing some kind of Palestinian state, um, and which would have to be, I take it at this point, imposed on Israel. I don't think they're negotiate them by, in other words, if your question, let me go back to your question. If your question is, what's politically feasible in the sense of some solution that the Israelis could agree to, that both sides could agree to,
Yeah. And there is
in
also another element in this because both parties are asymmetrical in the political cloud. Uh,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah, in the international support too. So if you also keep this point,
So yes, absolutely you're right. And it's an asymmetrical power situation. Um, so I think what I have to say is that the short-term solution is going to be, it looks as though it's going to be dictated by the United States and Israel, and it will be for some sort of local governing authority to be created that gets the stamp of approval from the U.S. and Israel, and that's a very, very short-term solution. It means people can stop killing each other for a little while, but it'll probably not be for long. It's not a long-term and not a stable solution. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that until the power disparity that you mentioned is altered, until something happens to alter it, whether through a political upheaval in Israel or or a change of heart by the United States, or a rallying of a mobilization in the UN of anti-imperial forces in the UN who insist on who do their own kind of intervention, then I'm afraid I can't see a stable solution. I can't see a solution that works that doesn't deal with the power disparity. And we're at the point now. I have a lot of contacts, and in both sides. I talk to students and ex-students and people I know in Palestine and in Israel. The people I'm talking to don't see that there's a short-term solution that's going to work at all. And they are also, however, talking about a growing feeling among Israelis that things have got to change there, or else people are going to leave the country. I mean, I've been surprised to hear from people that I know over there that people are talking about emigrating, um, and and so I think there is a social and political crisis developing in Israel, which is going to be at some point, maybe fairly soon, be recognized, and that could cause some convulsive political changes over there. At least when people stop feeling so immediately threatened. Now that Hezbollah has been basically defeated, at least temporarily, but still defeated. Now that Iran has become quieter, and now that the Syrian regime has changed, and nobody really knows what the attitude of the new regime is going to be on these foreign policy issues. Maybe now there'll be the opening that we've been waiting for the Israelis to reconsider, the Israeli people to reconsider, because we know that right before the October 7th attack, there was about a 50-50 split in Israeli society over the issues of the Supreme Court and so on. The basically a left-right split.
sorry.